Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. Today, Chris and I have two great guests on with us. We got Don Henning and Rob Stanley from AccrueMe. Guys, how you doing?
Doing great.
Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, thanks for coming on. We were talking before we came on about all of our different football allegiances, and we're all over the place. We got Raiders, Jets, and Chiefs out here, so it was a fun conversation. But Chris and I are excited to have you guys on because this is such an interesting topic for a lot of our listeners. Is funding. Funding is tricky, and I've got some interesting stories about my own issues with funding and ways that I've made mistakes and done things well. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that. But before we dive in, do you guys just want to give us a real quick background on sort of how you got into this space, a little bit about you guys, and then touch on AccrueMe and what it does?
Sure. Rob, you want me to kick off?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
All right. So I was doing a whole bunch of other things in my career, from finance to entertainment to publishing. In fact, I had a tennis publication.
Nice.
So, yeah, crazy. A soccer publication, a whole bunch of different things. And then I, took my third retirement, and I took 5 years off, and I thought I was actually done. And hooked up with an old friend of mine from the mortgage industry, and we started talking about different ideas, and he kept pitching me on different ideas. I kept saying, no, my life is too good. I'm not doing this. And we came up with talking about the Amazon seller world. And like, that really interests me because I love helping young entrepreneurs. I love mentoring people. I don't get paid for it. I just try to help people wherever I can. And so I love the whole idea of the Amazon seller space. And so we looked at it and talked to a bunch of sellers. We found there was one similar problem for everybody. The smallest guy, literally with $2,800 of inventory, to the largest that I could talk to at the time with hundreds of thousands of dollars of monthly sales. And they all had the same thing. I need more capital. I can't grow. And like, holy shit. So we looked at it, and then we looked at the financing options and ran spreadsheets and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, these sound great, but they're really bad for the seller, but the seller's not going to know about it until it's too late. So my partner, Eric, said, well, why don't we partner with the sellers? I'm like, what do you mean? So we just brainstormed the idea, and we came up with this, very unique, it's never been done before idea of investing money in the seller, in your business, with no interest, no required monthly payments, which is really a big thing, and no loss of ownership. So we don't actually take ownership of the company. We just get a percentage of profits. So with that, it was so unique. We started talking about it and building on it and building technology. We went out to one hedge fund, literally one time. And I love telling the story that, standing out on Broadway in Manhattan, before we went in, I said to my partner, Eric, I said, do you know what 242 is? And Robbie knows this because he and I have talked about it. But do you know what 242 is? He said, no, what? Do you guys know what 242 is?
Mm-mm.
So it's the number of pitches that Howard Schultz from Starbucks made before anybody put money into Starbucks.
Wow.
So I said to Eric, I go, we're not going in here to get money. Nobody's giving us money today. We're going in here to pitch this, really brilliant, very large hedge fund with the smartest people in the room. Literally, they had their smartest people in the room. And the owner of the hedge fund was there, really interesting conversation. I said, we're just going to get battered with questions that we never thought of. They're going to pick our model apart in ways that we didn't think of. And hopefully they'll invite us back in a couple of weeks to fill in the gaps. And that's the goal. And it should be fun. And it was fun. We didn't have that many holes, to be honest with you, but we did get invited back. And 6 weeks later, not only did they invest in the company, but they gave us $100 million to invest in Amazon sellers. Wow. So they kind of believe in it. So, Howard Schultz, 242, AccrueMe 1, baby.
There you go.
And then I'll turn it over to Robbie because he's got an interesting story, not only his background, but also how he joined AccrueMe, which I think is great.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Chris and I've had Chris on my podcast, so Chris knows quite a bit about me, but anybody who doesn't know too much about me. So I actually come from a background of being a seller. Prior to that, back in the 90s, I was in IT for all the big companies, Apple, Hewlett Packard, all that stuff. But about 2001, I started a company selling electronics online, which eventually by 2007 turned into selling iPhone parts, right? Because that's when it launched. I was the very first person and company to put a how to take apart your iPhone in July of 2007 video up on YouTube. And that blew up within a few months. It was over 1 million views on it, which back then was huge on YouTube. And that just kept evolving into more and more videos. And I think at some point we had 48 million views on our videos. I ended up actually selling that company in 2018. Backing up slightly in 2013, a business partner of mine had started a Amazon company, what we called import company back then, because they weren't really called Amazon companies. And I ended up buying half of that company, and we took that from being a 6-figure within a year to a 7-figure. The iPhone company was 7-figure. So, and those, I ended up actually negotiating a deal with my partner to buy me out, and I exited pretty much the same time, 2018. So this, to kind of move on from that, I ended up taking the summer off. And when my kids went back to school, my wife goes, I'm going to do real estate. And I looked and she goes, you going to start another company? I go, I don't want to start another company. I've been through that. Plus there's NDAs in place and stuff like that, right? You know, NDAs, no competes. So I actually got a hold of Henson over at FeedbackWiz, and he ended up hiring me as chief marketing officer. And as people know, I've been around for a couple of years for FeedbackWiz. Had Dawn on the show, gosh, it's been probably 4 or 5 months now. And I just absolutely fell in love with what AccrueMe
Robbie,
was doing.
only 2 months. It was September.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That time flies. All right. So,
you've been working hard, man.
I have. It's all those hours. Yeah. So I had Dawn on and absolutely fell in love, right? Because it really, and I'm not saying FeedbackWiz wasn't like this, but AccrueMe is so much about helping the seller. It really is hyper focused on helping sellers, and not really all about what's our bottom line. I mean, it's not that we don't need to keep an eye on our bottom line, but it really is all about trying to help them grow. And so you're going to hear that a lot. We're going to talk a lot about growth, and that's one of the things that separates us from a lot of the other companies. We are here to help people grow their company, make it bigger, and keep going. So what ended up happening is I had Dawn on the podcast, and I just totally fell in love with it. And after him and I talked for quite a while after the podcast, and I basically pursued Dawn for a job, and now I'm about 4 weeks ago, I became chief marketing officer for AccrueMe, and absolutely love it. So it's been just amazing, and yeah, happy to tell you guys more about AccrueMe and how it works and how we're different. And I'm sure you got a bunch of questions, so I'll kind of throw it back here. I'll just take over the whole episode. So.
Yeah, I'm itching here, and I want to go back to Don, and we'll go back to Rob. But when Don, you were telling that story, I was like envisioning being in like the Shark Tank, you know?
Oh yeah.
And like you got these investors sitting there, and you're like pitching it. What was that like? That had to be an experience in itself.
Well, it was an experience, but luckily I was fairly comfortable there because the billionaire owner, and I mean multiple billionaire owner, he has approached me at numerous times in my career to run businesses for him, and every time I've turned him down. Literally getting on his private jet to go to California, getting on his private jet to go here. We became friends. And so the door was open to me, which was very nice. That was, I was able to make the one call and get right to the guy. But then we're sitting in the room with general counsel, the head of investing, as far as investing in companies. And these guys are brilliant. And, one guy didn't like the model and one guy liked the model. And then, we had to overcome everything. And we did. And it was nerve-wracking, but also fun and exciting. I'll tell you, it was when I was about 30 years old, I testified before the House and the Senate. And when I was before the Senate, it was a similar situation where there was all these senators. It was like a free-for-all, just throwing questions at you from around the room. Like, it wasn't, this senator has 5 minutes. It's boom, boom, boom. It was crazy. And I remember looking at my watch, because I was like a focal point in this hearing at the time. And I looked down at my watch thinking I must have been here for at least an hour, hour and a half, and only 10 minutes had gone by. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? All I was worried about was that on camera, my shirt it was a brand new shirt. It was a little too tight. I was worried that my vein was going to explode and that would be embarrassing on TV, So there's a little bit of that. So it's a combination of both. But by the end, you walk out, you're friendly, and you get a call back to come in, and here are some questions and some concerns that we have, and we know what they are, and now we have to work over the problems and come back in and overcome that. So it was a series of about 3 or 4 meetings, and all together over 6 weeks when we got the letter of intent for the investment and the $100 million.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can just imagine, and the adrenaline was probably pumping, and you're feeling like you got to explain the business model, right? Because I'm sure not everybody understands the business model of an Amazon seller, like how this really works. So I'm sure there was some education there.
Totally.
So that's cool. That's awesome stuff.
Not only that, but I've never done it. You guys have all done, built Amazon businesses. I've never done this. I had to learn this and learn as much as I could so that I could go and speak, intelligently and, call people like yourselves and Robbie and others to, be able to answer the questions honestly. Because the last thing in the world you ever want to do is answer a question that's not true. Then game over forever. Yeah.
That's a good point, especially Amazon sells. Like we can really like figure out if somebody knows what they're talking about or not.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you're talking about, you kind of lose trust really fast. So.
Oh yeah. In anything.
Yeah. Anything. Yeah. And then Rob. So to AccrueMe and how it's different. What makes you guys separate from other funding things out there? Because Dustin and I, we've been involved with there's other companies out there and sometimes you get caught with the pants down a little bit and you're like, what the heck's going on? But what makes you guys different? Why would an Amazon seller choose you guys over some other options out there?
Yeah. So what really sets us apart is we're not like a general loan, right? A lot of the other ones are kind of general loan. They're giving you money for your entire company, right? And it's not always focused necessarily on growth, right? Because every month they want their percentage of interest that they have. They want a minimum monthly payment every month, right? Well, every time they do that, they're taking a chunk of your money. And with us, what we're doing is we're investing in your inventory. We're helping you grow. You can take that money that you got from us along with your capital, and when you've sold all your inventory, you could go buy 100% of the inventory again. So we didn't just take a chunk, we took nothing at that point, if that makes sense. So I'll give you a little bit of a scenario, right? So if you have 100,000 in capital and we fund you 100,000, you got 200,000. So you take that 200,000, you buy your inventory. Let's say in 90 days you sold it all and you made approximately 30% net profits, right? Which is $60,000. You have the option to take that 260,000 and go buy inventory again, and then 3 more months buy it again. So there's never a chunk taken out. So instead of like these other investors or funding or loans or whatever you want to call them, I mean, they're basically taking chunks. So you have less and less to keep going and buying more inventory with. That's the basics of what sets us apart. And Don could probably go into more detail, or if anybody, if you have another question, Chris, regarding kind of more details of it.
Just to chime in on that, but you hit it all. It's all about growth. If a seller is looking and they need money to go from I'm not going to get paid for 2 weeks, I need some money to cover my bills. We are not that. We are just not that at all. We are for the guys and the girls and the entrepreneurs that want to blow the shit out of their business, if you will. I don't know if that's allowed on this podcast, but
sure.
It is what it is.
Damn right it is.
I am from New York, So, but seriously, I've built many businesses. And you guys have too. And you get to that point where you say, I have something special. I can do something here, but I need some capital to do it. Well, there's nobody that's going to give you the capital to do it like that. They're going to give you capital, as Robbie said. They're going to take a chunk of it back every month. And you're going to be, just keep treading water. I'm sorry, but it doesn't really help a hell of a lot. Where with what we're doing, we're saying, look, Amazon, being a seller on Amazon and in the e-commerce world, where's it going to be in 5 years or 7 years? I don't know. Nobody knows. Everybody can assume. We all assume everything is going to continue along like everything has in the past. It never works that way. something will change this. There'll be, something that we don't even see today will change this for many people in this industry. You see the opportunity in front of you, go get it. Go get it. This is it. Today's, it's just before January, right? This is when you make those decisions of what am I going to do next year? Either I'm going to, tread water and continue and everything's good, or I'm going to blow this out. And so anyway, I get excited. That's what we're about. It's all about
keep
growth.
going. That's good stuff.
It is great stuff. And I love the passion that you guys have for this. And what's so intriguing to me is I was that guy that took the more traditional loan and struggled, and I could go into forever on stories like this, but that's the tough part about being an Amazon seller or running your own e-commerce business is it's very different. I mean, the scalability, you can scale faster than you can imagine.
Yep.
And your initial investment's never going to be enough because your next order is going to have to be double or triple if everything's going well. And if you're having to pay lump sums back in the middle of that, and not to mention the fact that it could be a long time to get your money back. I mean, if you're investing in inventory, it could be 60 days out before you get your first sale and or get that money back. And so there's so many challenges. And I've had sleepless nights over traditional lending. I mean, I had quit my job. I was all in. I was doing all the right things, except for the type of financing I chose. And it stifled me. And it took little things to do it. So, I mean, I'm so intrigued by what you guys are doing. And we'll be having many conversations after this podcast for sure, because this is what I think sellers have always been looking for. They just didn't know it was possible. I mean, you talk about all the things that I tried to do is to make partnerships with friends and family, but then you're talking about investment, giving up some of your, and just being beholden to them, and it's nervous and all that. So explain how the partnership works with you guys. I mean, obviously, you guys have skin in the game at some degree. How does that partnership work? And when you talk about being able to keep reinvesting and reinvesting, the longer we stay with you, I'm assuming that's more and more profits that we're splitting. Is that sort of how the arrangement works?
So let me chime in first, Robbie, and then it's yours. But I want to go back to what Dustin said, because anybody that's ever owned their own business has had sleepless nights. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I've had a very successful career, as you guys have as well. But it doesn't matter who you are. You've had some rough times. I remember I'm looking out over a lake right now. This is where I live. It flows down into the ocean. And I remember when my kids were younger, I remember looking out over the lake saying to myself, oh my God, if something doesn't change, I'm going to lose all this. And it was a very scary time. And I had to get to that point to make some tough decisions. And within 6 months, I was making, over $1 million again. It was but I had to get to that point. And there's a sign I remember seeing on somebody's kitchen refrigerator that I think every entrepreneur can associate with. And the sign, this is like 40 years ago. The sign said, sometimes owning your own business is as overrated as mom's apple pie. And when you have those bad sleepless nights, that's exactly what it is. So I'm just going to come back to your question, and I'm going to read into the question a little bit, like, hey, come on, no payments? Like, when do we have to pay you? And here's what we say to that. Pay us when it's right for you and your business. So what we see with a lot of our clients is in Q3 and Q4, they're not making any payments. They need every dollar they can get and more. And they're growing. Good for them. But now, January also busy. They don't have a lot of capital. By February, March, April, they're pretty flush. They're paying us chunks of money. So instead of paying us, X amount every month, they're paying us what they want when it's right for them. They might send us $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in some cases, because they have the cash sitting there. Why let it sit there? Pay us down. We earn a smaller percentage of the profit, and everybody wins. And so it just goes along that way. And the second thing that some of our clients are doing, which is great, is they're not making any payments. They're growing and growing and growing with the whole plan of selling the business or selling their brands in a year and a half, 2 years. And at first they're very concerned. Are you guys really okay with this? We're not going to be making any payments. Yeah, we are. So what do we get at the end? So we have our percentage of profits that we earn. It changes every month, by the way, depending on how much we have invested versus how much they have invested. But now they sell the business, not at a 2 multiple, but now they're much larger, they're much stronger, they're in a better position, and they can negotiate with whoever they want. So they're selling it at a 4 or a 5 or maybe even a 6 multiple, a much bigger business at a better multiple. You know, these guys are going to retire in a big way. Well, what do we get? We get the capital that we invested plus whatever our accrued profits are over that period of time. That's it. They keep all the upside. We get none of the upside. And every single person I've ever told this to has said to me, "You guys are crazy. You're making a big mistake." At least take, I think Robbie said the same thing to me, at least take 1 or 2% of the company so that when they all sell out, you know, you get this windfall down the road. And we just don't want to be in their pockets. We're going to do very well. We're going to tag along with your success, but we don't want to be in your pockets any more than that. We want to help you grow. We only win when you win. And that's it. It's a true win-win. Robbie, what did I miss?
Yeah, you didn't miss much, but let's give everybody a scenario here and let's follow it through. Ready?
Sure.
So let's go with that 100,000 scenario. You have 100,000 in capital. We match it with 100,000. That's a 50-50 at that point. Okay. AccrueMe never wants to be more than 50% with you on any of this. Okay. So let's just use that same scenario, and you could be less. You can always take less than that 100,000, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So we have the 200,000. We went through the scenario. At the end of 3 months, you've made the 30%, $60,000. Okay. You got 2 options at the end of that 3 months. And I'm just using 3 months as a basic example. Most of us know the inventory rotates every approximately 3 months. You hope it rotates faster because you make more money. But at the end of that 3 months, you turn around and you can have one option. You want us out of your picture? Fine. We represented 50% of it. We asked for 25% of the net profits, or half of what we represented. So at the end of that, you would end up giving back our $100,000, and 25% is $15,000. But remember, you also made an extra $15,000 using our $100,000. Okay, so that's the first scenario. If you just want us out of the picture, there's no extra fees or cost or interest on that. That's it. Period. And there's no like, it'll take 30 days for us to process this for you. It's done pretty quickly. So you know, you got to watch those type of things.
It's done immediately. Yeah. We don't play anything.
Okay, so that's first scenario. We're out of the picture. Goodbye. Good luck. Hope you make a lot of money. Okay. Second scenario, which actually works out even better, is you turn around like we talked about. You roll that 260, buy more inventory. Now we're into that for 100,000 initially, plus the 15,000. Okay, so you actually start representing more and more of the pie the more times you roll it. So I'm telling you right now that it actually is to your advantage to keep rolling that money more and more, because our ownership percentage goes down. So it actually works out better in the long run for you to do that. So going back to the first scenario, at the end of that month, or I'm sorry, let's back up even further. You have 100,000 in capital. You decide you only want to take 50,000. Okay. Now we only represent 25%. So what we would get in profits is 12.5% when you've sold that. So it's always half of whatever we represent. And going forward too, if you had that 150,000, you made that profit, you keep going, it pushes it down more and more. And you can always make payments along the way. That's up your option. It's not required. Okay. And again, no interest, no monthly payments. We don't do no credit checks, no personal guarantees. I mean, how many places say that? So, you know, it's kind of crazy, right? And that's why when I had Dawn on my podcast, I was like, that really helps the seller. You are helping, you know, Dustin, you know, I mean, if you guys have sold, anybody who's watching this has sold, that helps you. You're looking for, you know, to keep growing the company and get bigger and bigger. So that's the basics of it. Then one question we get asked, and not to just because, you know, I'll just keep talking, but one question we do get asked, which people are going to ask, right, is I want to start this new line of products. Great. We completely understand that. That's not us. But the way you could use us to do that is, let's say you're going to go buy 50,000 in inventory on a current product you have, it's FBA, and you're like, instead of you dishing out the full 50, why don't you put 25, we'll put 25, that left an extra 25 in your bank that you could go start your new product and get it going. Maybe once it comes up to speed and you show us that it's profitable, we'll help you with that too. We'll add it to the portfolio, we'll help you, and we'll give you more money to keep buying more inventory. So that comes up a lot, is how can I use you guys? Another way is go ahead and take some of the profits off as we sell, and take that money over and start that new product. Because we get that a lot, like, how can I use you guys to start new products or stuff? We are not part of the new product starting or getting a new product going. You're the one that's going to have to take that risk. We can't take that risk. So you go ahead and do that. But when you get it going and get it to a point where you can prove to us that it's making money, you don't even need to prove to us. We can look and see, right?
Yeah.
And because we'll obviously have, MWS access and be able to, because we got to be able to see everything. So now here's the whole thing. Everybody goes, well, we put in that 200,000. Let's say that product just fails miserably and we get 200,000 back at the end of it. Okay, we get our 100,000, you get your 100,000. Another scenario. Let's say it's actually a failure and something really bad happens and we only get back 150,000 total of that 200,000. Well, we get our 100,000 first, you get what's left, okay? We have to protect ourselves because we're risking money with you. And that's why Don keeps mentioning, like, we grow when you grow or we make money when you make money. So that's the basic scenario of how it works and how we protect ourselves and, how you can keep making money with our money.
I don't know why I'm on this podcast. Robbie's much better than me.
I've been rehearsing this for like a month.
Oh, you're both great. And I just have to touch on that. So this profit share percentage is based on product, not the full account, right? Or is it everything? So if I launch a brand new product, but I've used you guys to fund my existing product, and my other one rockets to the moon, but I've got you attached to this one. Is it at the account level or is it at the product that you're funding level that works?
It would be at the account level. However, that new product would be excluded. So we don't count that in capital, and we don't take any profit on it. So 100% of the profit goes through. Now you're making money with it. You determine, hey guys, I'd like this to be counted as capital. Boom, no problem. As long as it's profitable, turning in, and we just look for it to be profitable for typically 3 months is really all we're looking for. Because then we have a feel. It's not going to be blowout profitable, but it'll be okay by then. And then we're in.
This is amazing. I've got just another question about it, because this is what I've always been looking for. I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true that.
And guys, I've never seen Dustin this excited. So
Dustin, I'm going to interrupt you. Yeah. From day one, the one question that every single person has asked me and has said to me, this sounds too good to be true. And so we literally built PowerPoints and presentations around, it sounds too good to be true. It does sound to be too good to be true, but it's all real.
Yeah, it's like a best friend coming along who's wanting to help you out and just give you some help.
Well,
and
it's just like what you said before with going to a family member, right? Yeah. You have a rich uncle or a rich cousin or whoever, and they're going to invest in your business. Wow, that's wonderful. Would they give you these terms? First off, not a chance, not a chance. And secondly, when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, it's not going to be fun, no matter what. I have a business in Vietnam, and some of my friends, at one point, we opened it up for investment. And some of my friends, these are good friends of mine, still from high school. We were, together on a regular basis. We go to my house in Florida on a bunch of times. And, I didn't think anything of it. These guys didn't put a lot of money in, like 20 grand, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. We go to Florida, we're drinking, we're having, food and everything. Hey, Don, how's the business going? And like, oh shit, I don't want to talk about that. So yeah, it's similar. You wouldn't get these terms, but man, we don't give you that kind of aggravation at Thanksgiving or whatever.
Well, forget my rich uncle. I'm coming to Christmas dinner with you guys. Sounds like a lot more fun. So you guys create this partnership, and what sort of like auditing are you doing of what if are you counseling us or helping us? What if I blow too much money on advertising or something of that nature where it's not working? We are a partner in this deal. So how does that, or in my accounting, you got to vet my accounting, I would imagine as well. How does that process look?
Robbie, you want to take it or you want me to?
I think you need to take that one because I know a little bit, but Don knows more in depth on that side of the house.
So the question that you're asking, and I'm going to rephrase it a little bit, what do we count as profit? Mm-hmm. All right. So what we're counting as profit is the money that comes in from Amazon, less your cost of goods sold, less all of the expenses from Amazon, including PPC. And what you might call today your gross profit is what we're calling profit. Okay, that's what we're going on, because we can't see, you're taking money out to, pay your car lease or, whatever else it might be. We don't know what all that is, and we're not going to be able to dig in and analyze all of that. And, so that's the profit number that we go off of.
Yeah, well, I'll jump in. Let me just give some of the requirements, Dustin, that we're looking for, and maybe that'll help a little bit too.
Sure.
So we're looking for sellers that are at a minimum doing $10,000 a month in gross sales. Okay, and we're also looking for ones that are profitable, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 6 months at least, right, Don? So that's kind of the minimum that we're looking for. We find that that's kind of the starter. And Dustin, I mean, you've sold, so you kind of know that those are usually the people that, they've been on Amazon enough, they understand the process enough. They're going to know, their product's doing pretty good and they're making money, what their cost of goods are, how much they're putting on PPC, even if they increase it. So, we're usually dealing with people that already are semi to experienced sellers.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we see the same thing in our industry with Solozo. When they come on, people that have been in the business for a while, have at least 5,000 or so a monthly sales, they're going to stick longer because they understand what our tool's doing for them. Yeah. And I get that completely.
Exactly.
And as far as helping them and counseling them, we do that on a regular basis when needed. So a general rule, and it's just a good business rule, is, I hate to use the word never, but never to use more than 20% of your total capital on one purchase. All right. So sometimes it's going to happen. When it happens, we just want to have a conversation. So literally, we had one of our clients just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was making a major purchase, and now he is on the wholesale side of the business. Okay. So using like 30-40% of his capital, altogether capital, to buy, some, basic items that we all use. I won't say the items. And, so we called him. We said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I got an idea. I got a deal." And literally, he was saving 1 penny on this inventory. We're like, "No, you're going to lose money by doing this. You're buying 8 months worth of this inventory. We have a system that calculates the whole bit. You're buying 8 months of this inventory, and you're going to end up going from a great return of almost 20% per month to down to like 8%. Why would you do that?" And he just didn't get it. But then when he saw the numbers and we ran the spreadsheet for him, he goes, "I get it. Thanks." We've had a number of those situations. We probably would have just let him go ahead and do it, but we really had to sit down and make sure he understood what he was getting into. And once he understood, he was done. He had no problem with it.
You're not going to find that with traditional loans.
Exactly.
No, because they don't care. They're getting paid every day. They're getting paid every month. Yeah. So, you talk about traditional loans, especially in this industry, and we get to see them on a regular basis. And, you borrow. I saw one just recently, just like within the last week. I think the guy took out $50,000 and he got like, I'm just going to say 45,000. I think it might have been 47,000, somewhere in there. And he had to pay $15,000 a month for 3 months to pay it back. So he must have gotten 45 out of the 50, paid it back 15,000 a month. So if you think about it, go back to Robbie's example. It blew my mind when I saw this. This guy gets 50 grand. He actually gets 45, roughly. In month 2, he's got $30,000 because you have to pay 15 grand back. And with us, if you had 50 grand, you and let's just say we were going to earn 3 grand, whatever the profit split was at that point, you would have had 53,000, and then plus, let's say the seller had earned 10 grand. I'm making up a number there, so you would have had 63,000 besides the seller's capital versus 30,000. So funding source versus funding source. In month 2, you'd have 30,000 versus 63,000. Like, which one's going to grow bigger? Which one's going to grow faster? And the other thing is, who's going to have to work harder? The seller who's getting the funding from the bank or whatever, you just have to make enough to pay the bill. With us, the whole idea is to bust your ass, go to work, you have an opportunity in front of you to kill it, and we'll help you in any way we can. Anyway,
yeah.
Your guy there you're talking about was me when I was having my sleepless night.
Seriously,
with the $20,000 payment coming up in a couple days. That's rough.
Yeah.
And that's rough.
And it's easy to miscalculate that as a seller. I mean, I'll speak for my experience. I mean, I went to business school. I have my MBA. I know all the terms. I know all the numbers, and you get caught up in that growth. Like I was like, oh my sales are doubling all the time. This is going to be no problem. I'm pulling in 70, 80,000 in revenue a month. So a $25,000 loan is no big deal, but it kills you.
Yep.
And this is why I'm so intrigued by what you.
So let me just chime in on that, because you just hit on one more thing. When we started AccrueMe, we didn't know anything. We knew the idea. We built the model. We went out and we gave money to about a little less than a dozen sellers. We had no underwriting criteria. We literally put money in their hands to see what would happen. We had no technology. We had nothing. So, we just had to, how do you learn?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer of start stupid. Don't just sit back and wait until you know everything. Just get in the game. Just start playing. You'll get good. You'll figure it out. Anyway, so that's what we did. We got in the game. We started playing. But then we started realizing and talking about it that, wait a minute, I don't know if they're getting much value for the first 30 days. So we don't take any profit for the first 30 days. We made that change about a year ago, where we don't take any profit for the first 30 days. What we did initially, we would ask our sellers to stay in the deal for 6 months minimum. We don't require it, all right? We don't put it in writing. We don't have it in contract or anything like that. It's just a gentleman's agreement, if you will. This is what we would appreciate you doing. If after a few months you say, this is just not for me, then you're out. There's not a problem at all. We don't want you to do something that's not good. But now we ask people to stay in for 7 months because the first month's free. So, anyway, that's you get an idea of the mentality. Mm-hmm. You'll never get that from a bank.
No, never.
No.
And what's it look like as a seller? Like if I go to your site and I'm like, hey, I want to play around with this, and maybe I don't know how much I want to take out, or I don't have any idea, but I know I need funding. What's that look like?
Robbie?
Yeah. So we have actually an ROI calculator that you could use on our site that will show you, like, you could enter all the information like you're talking about, Chris, right? You go to our website, AccrueMe.com. There's an ROI calculator. I think we refer to it as the AccrueMe calculator. I'll have to look. I worked on the site, so.
Anyway. You are the marketing officer, right?
I did. Yeah. Let me tell you.
He probably renamed it.
I will. I've changed a lot on the site, let me tell you. It looks good now. It's a lot faster. But anyways, there's an ROI calculator you can play around with. It'll give you different scenarios. You can put in different numbers, how much you want to borrow, what, the different things. And it'll scale. It'll show you all the different, what it looks like. And, one thing I did want to mention, and not to get off the subject because I'll come back to it. Just so when I was giving that 100,000 example, like you have 100,000 capital, we match it with 100,000, doesn't mean you have to go straight to that 100,000. In fact, we encourage you to start with a smaller amount. Turn around and maybe start with like 10 or 20, and then a couple months later, if you need another 10 or 20, grab 10 or 20 more. You don't necessarily have to go right to that 100,000 immediately. So I just want to make sure people are aware of that. There's not an instant. The number that you have to go to. But yeah, there, Chris is showing the calculator. You can put our ROI calculator.
So just to stay on top of that for a second, one more thing on top of what Robbie just said. There's only one way a seller can lose with us. We talked basically with lenders, you have a bad month, you're screwed. With us, you have a bad month. It didn't cost you anything. There's zero. We didn't earn anything. But there's only one way that a seller actually can lose. And that's if they take our money and leave it in the bank. So then they're paying us a percentage of profits and not getting any value. So that, just as Robbie's saying here, that we encourage everybody, just take what you need. The rest of it's there. Literally, we can turn around in an hour. It's not a big deal. So we're not forcing money on people. We want them to do what's right. And so take the least amount you need to use now, and then come back next week, next month, 2 months, whatever it is, get more. So go ahead, Robbie. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's exactly it. And besides that calculator being on our site, 3-minute a 3-minute form, and we'll tell you whether you qualify and how much you qualify for. Now it could go up. I mean, after we go and kind of look at it, but if you just need an instant quote, 3-minute form, go on there, click on the funding. It'll take you to our form, fill out the form. I think it's 3 steps. 3 steps with a little bit of information, which, by the way, that might be 1 page coming up soon, but I'm working on that. So it'll be really fast. And it'll instantly tell you whether you're approved or not approved and how much you're approved for. And if you're not approved, don't freak out. Contact us if you feel like maybe something was wrong or you misentered something, and we'll be happy to get a hold of you and recheck on it. There you go, 3 minutes to funding. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and we're happy to talk to everybody. Literally, you can probably tell I'm a people person. I talk to just about everybody that we do business with, and because it's important, it's fun. What's life about, right? You want to get to know who these people are. You want to root for them. You want to, cheer for them, and you want to do whatever you can. If I come across an article that could help you, I mean, I love doing that. Send that to the person. I literally have one sending out to a seller today on health, something that he had talked to me about, that a specific supplement that is very, very good. There's a whole long article, so that's going out to him today. Little things like that. That's what life's about. It's not just about making money. It's about building and having fun and helping each other. So
yeah. And Don, why don't you also tell them what type of sellers are we funding right now? See, I'll just take over, Chris. Don't worry about it.
Good ones.
Right. But what or is it FBM? Is it people selling on their own websites, Walmart?
Wholesale.
Yeah. So right now it's FBM. I'm sorry, FBA. So we had to start somewhere. So we're starting with Amazon. We're starting with Amazon FBA. We will be expanding to FBM very shortly. We're building it into our system now. And then we're going to expand from there. We're right now just Amazon.com. We're starting the process to build for Canada, Mexico, and then we'll be starting to do other countries from there. We're starting to look at Walmart, but that's months down the road. It's not. We have to master this first and make sure everybody's happy. And so far so good, but that's where we are right now. We're FBA. We'll be adding FBM shortly.
Yeah, and then also to add on to that, Don missed the part that if you're outside the United States, but you're selling on Amazon's U.S. market, you do qualify for us. So if you are in Canada and you're selling on Amazon.com US, you still can qualify for getting, AccrueMe funding. So it's definitely there. But
there is one thing there. So also another thing that we require is that you're an LLC. Like some might be corporations, but we do an LLC. And the reason we do an LLC, and the only way we can do this is as an LLC, is we can change the operating agreement of the LLC. And we can make it so that we earn a percentage of profits without taking a percentage of ownership. So if it's a corporation, the only way we could do that is taking a percentage of ownership. And we didn't want to do that. So everybody's got to be an LLC, which hasn't been a big obstacle, even for some of the very, very large players. And some of the sellers that have come on board from Canada, some of them already have an LLC in the United States. Some of them didn't. And they just literally got an LLC, got their own EIN in the United States. And where us, it might take 1 day. It takes like 7 to 10 days coming from Canada to do it. But that's the obstacle, which is not a big obstacle. They literally can't wait until that EIN comes in so that they can get running. Seriously, they get that excited.
And if you're going to sell on Amazon, and first you need to be doing that in the first place. Like that's the first thing you need to do. Is one of the first things you need to do is take this seriously and get that LLC, because it's going to come to your advantage with things like this. Like you're going to be able to use that for when you need funding. So if you don't have an LLC yet, it doesn't take long to do. It's an easy process. Definitely something to do.
We're going to have you do a video for us there, Chris. That was good.
A lot of trial and error.
That was good.
Oh man, this has been fantastic, guys. I mean, I'm stoked. Learning more.
Speechless. He usually talks more than this.
I know. I am. I'm speechless. I'm processing all this, thinking about how all this plays out. I mean, it is amazing. It is too good to be true, and it is true. So that's pretty good that you guys are doing this. I mean, I encourage everyone out there who's right now looking for funding, looking for ways to grow their business. We talked to a lot of people that have put a lot of sweat equity into it, and they got to that point, that criteria point where you're talking about. And now it's time to really go to the moon with their company. And you guys are the ones to talk to. I encourage them to go to you. They just go to the website, AccrueMe.com, and fill out the form, and
that's it. And if anybody wants to communicate directly, Rob and I both, it's, Rob at AccrueMe.com or Don at AccrueMe.com. And on LinkedIn, if they want to reach out and just to get a feel for backgrounds and all that, which is always a smart thing to do, it's my full name, like my mother would call me, Donald. So Donald Hennig. And Robbie, I'm not sure.
Yeah, for me, you can either hit me on LinkedIn, or I usually handle more of the Facebook side. You can all find me on Facebook, message me directly, or again, it's Rob at AccrueMe.com if you have any questions or anything, and be sure happy to help you or set up an appointment and talk with you or whatever you want. So Don and I are always available. So
always.
I think all you have to do is get on the internet to find you, Rob, right? I mean, you're everywhere.
Yeah, Rob's everywhere.
Exactly.
Whatever page you open up, if I see you. So.
Here's the funny thing, Dustin. So like all those videos I did when I had my iPhone company, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody ever saw me. They all saw my hands. So here, if you want to recognize me, here you go. No, serious. It was just me working on an iPhone and talking, right? I mean, nobody ever knew who I was until I started doing the podcast and stuff. But yeah, easy way to find me or Don. We're all over the place. So
yeah.
Well, that was fantastic. We can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show. It's been amazing. Everyone, reach out to them. They're great guys. They're going to be your new best friends in business.
Yeah. You're rich new friends.
You're rich. Yeah. Love it. Well, thanks, guys. We'll have to have you on sometime down the road. We'll talk about some new stuff that you guys have come out with, and we'll go from there. But everyone, thanks for listening. Hopefully this has been invaluable. After you've got your financing from these guys and you need to ramp up your advertising, talk to Chris and I at Spozo.
There you go.
We'll help automate that. Take that off your plate as well. Everyone, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Go Chiefs.
See you guys.